is for architecture, an activity thousands of years old, yet new as of this moment. The profession of architecture is involved with all aspects of life. How we live, our homes, apartments, hotels. How we learn, our schools, universities, museums. How we worship, our churches, synagogues, cathedrals. How we work, our offices, factories, laboratories. And how we play, our stadiums, parks, theaters. Architecture is more than art. It is more than the engineering that supports our structures, spans our waterways, and promises to carry man to the moon. It is far more than construction, which assembles and combines materials to provide shelter. Architecture is the making and reshaping of our physical environment. It is the design of a single room and the planning of a city. Architecture is for people. An architect creates space for human beings, people, large and small, old and young, rich and poor, people in groups, alone, people working, playing, eating, sleeping, people dancing, singing, praying, traveling. Architecture is everywhere in our man-made environment. You are exposed to architecture every day. It's all around us. And not to Rome or Paris or New York must we travel to view significant buildings. We have in North Carolina a heritage of good architecture. Look around you. Indeed, these buildings, some old, some new, some restored, are witness to our historic heritage of outstanding architecture. Architects in North Carolina are producing famous structures. Their names and talents are being repeated and praised in the one-time centers of architecture. Their services are being requested in all parts of our nation and abroad. And in education today, there are 3 North Carolina-trained architects who are heading schools of architecture in the United States, in Indiana, Michigan, and North Carolina. To preserve our heritage, to provide the new environment of tomorrow is the mandate of the architect. Say architecture to someone, and most likely you'll soon hear the words, Frank Lloyd Wright. Understandable? Yes, because here in the United States, up until Wright, architecture, as a recognized profession, was unfamiliar and unsung. Wright brought the word architecture into focus. Today, almost everyone can either recognize a Frank Lloyd Wright design or can give you a very decided opinion on what they think of Wright's work. But since and before Wright, there were and are others, other names and talents that because of a need created and gave a new form to architecture. Louis H. Sullivan in the 1890s. Sullivan's fame is based upon refinements that he introduced in the design of large metal-framed commercial buildings and upon the development of an organic theory of architecture. One of the earliest architects of the modern movement to focus on urban problems was Le Corbusier. He was his own scale maker, seeking a rational way to establish proper proportions. Mies van der Rohe made the structure a part of the beauty of the building. Here, Crown Hall of the Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago. Near Washington, D.C., the Dulles Airport by Eero Saarinen shows a new dramatic relationship between interior space and exterior form. Louis Kahn with his Richards Medical Research Center of the University of Pennsylvania. Kahn has exploited 20th century technology by making effective visual features of vertical service elements and structures. In Tokyo, Kenzo Tange. His aim is to integrate Japan's architectural traditions with the needs of modern society. The history of architecture is a history of many names and their contributions to this art. In North Carolina today, our architects are adding to that history. North Carolina is proud of its architecture. North Carolina is proud of its architects. They are giving to the state and to the nation the well-planned functional architecture, the aesthetically pleasing architecture for the new environment. To encourage and promote excellence in design, each year the North Carolina chapter of the American Institute of Architects conducts an honor awards program. Active in the state is the North Carolina Design Foundation, which furthers educational opportunities by way of scholarships and endowments for architecture. To practice architecture in North Carolina, a person is required to have a Bachelor of Architecture degree from an accredited school of architecture. There is then a 3-year practical experience period of working with an established firm. Upon completion of this apprenticeship, one goes before the North Carolina State Board of Architecture for a series of extensive examinations. If successful, you are presented with a license to practice architecture in the state of North Carolina. You are a registered architect. You are an architect responsible for creating the new environment. And with this making of the new environment in the tomorrow of architecture, there will be the excitement of a greater and greater use and exploitation of technology, scientific improvements and advances, research and development of new building materials, new methods of construction and assembly, less expensive, more efficient. Structures will become adaptable to change and growth. There will be accent on separation of the pedestrian and the automobile with malls and pleasant areas just for people. And the center city will be returned to the people. For most of us, the city is home in the fullest sense of the word, a place to live, to work, to play, to go to school. We love the city where there is always something going on. Physically, a city is a mass of humanity cooked up in a mass of masonry. The city is where the tumult is, the clatter and chatter of multitudes. And today, many areas of our American cities, large and small, are in an environmental dilemma. Traffic congestion, no parking spaces, insufficient mass transportation, crowds, fumes, pollution of rivers, improper sewage disposal, the decay of the older downtown business districts, the deterioration of commercial, industrial, and residential areas. Open land is vanishing. Old landmarks are violated. We are an urban nation, and we will become even more urbanized in the next few decades. The architect of tomorrow will be vitally concerned with rescuing our cities from their chaotic and ugly condition. The city planning, the master plans, an essential part of the architecture of tomorrow, will need the time and talent and cooperation of many to evolve successful completion. The landscape architect, planner, engineer, economist, social and political scientists, and developers. The architect will be the coordinator of this effort to see that our communities become pleasant and orderly places in which to live. With man's activity and progress, he often disrupts nature's orderly growth. Architecture is man's attempt to restore this order by planning and design. This is Charlotte, North Carolina, and their workable proposal that is to bring about a rebirth of beauty and vitality. The master plan covers approximately 100 square blocks. Today, architects are rebuilding downtowns to separate people from automobiles and give people a chance to walk amid greenery and shops, to sit and rest when they feel like it. There are new towns that have been completely planned, some now occupied. Into an area of many square miles of land, a town was born. Every square foot of space was made meaningful by architecture. The plan for downtown Greensboro is vital and dramatic. It proposes a combination of new and existing land uses, all essential to the activities of a city's central business district, and all located downtown where they belong. These uses are located so as to complement one another, and when translated to bricks and mortar will completely revitalize the downtown area. Office use is concentrated within a relatively small area, with 700,000 square feet of new space proposed. There will be some 2 million square feet for retailing. New public and quasi-public uses will be of particular significance with the more complex of government offices. Because many more people will want to live in the revitalized downtown area, the plan also proposes a number of different types of residential uses. 2 high-rise apartment buildings and several garden apartments will be provided. This plan calls for nearly 10,000 off-street parking spaces. At appropriate locations throughout the downtown, the plan proposes entertainment facilities, a motor hotel with complete convention facilities, a merchandise mart and trade exhibition hall, and auto showrooms. Since 1958, many people have been working to build a plan for downtown Greensboro. It has been developed from the ideas and plans of many civic and business leaders. A new downtown cannot be built in a day, but it can be done gradually over a period of 10 to 15 years. It is all possible. Either block by block or lot by lot, all pieces will fit together to bring into being a new downtown.
The profession of architecture is undergoing an evolutionary change. The traditional role of the architect is being expanded and diversified. The task of giving meaningful form to man's physical environment remains the architect's primary responsibility. However, the attitudes and methods of the past are no longer adequate for today's urgent problems. These demand an integrated, total design approach based on performance, developing insights into human behavior, advanced technology, and improved design methods. This total design approach must be directed at the crucial design needs of our time, which are so demanding that only the most broadly educated, intelligent, and creative professionals can cope with them. My name is Robert Burns. I'm head of the Department of Architecture at North Carolina State University. Architecture is the largest department in the School of Design, which also includes the departments of Landscape Architecture and Product Design. The School of Design was established in 1948 under the direction of Dean Henry L. Campheffner, who has guided the school through an uninterrupted period of accomplishment and growth. The School of Design is internationally recognized as one of the significant design education centers in this country. Facilities in the school available to the Department of Architecture include the Design Library, a well-equipped shop, research laboratories, lecture and seminar rooms, studios for advanced work in the visual arts, as well as design studios for architectural studies. The design studio work forms the basic core of the student's architectural studies. Here he is confronted with design problems, some of a technical nature, others having important social or economic implications, for which he is called upon to develop workable and imaginative solutions. Discussion with fellow students and personal criticism from experienced teacher architects and consultants are normal ingredients of the design studio experience. In addition to the core curriculum, the architecture student encounters a wide spectrum of general courses, ranging from humanities and the social sciences to mathematics and engineering. One of the unique features of architectural education is the jury, in which design proposals are discussed and critiqued by students and faculty. Here in the octagonal jury room of the School of Design, an advanced architecture student explains his design for an urban transportation system. Questions are raised and possible alternatives discussed. In this free and open exchange of information and ideas, the student is challenged to extend to the ultimate his intellectual and design abilities. Perhaps the major resource of the Department of Architecture is its students, an inquiring, restless, and imaginative breed who may in time transform our cities, our landscape, our homes to a higher level of orderliness, beauty, and utility. It is the goal of the Department of Architecture to prepare individuals with a profound understanding of man in his cultural context, with a deep commitment to the ordering of the physical environment, and with the necessary tools for accomplishing these objectives.
For the business of architecture, we go now to an architect's office. Here we find behind-the-scene individuals who require special training and who are an integral part of this profession. The draftsman, a vital, essential employee of the architect's office. He can gain his knowledge of this field from the many industrial and technical educational centers. Then there is the secretary, the bookkeeper, the supervisor. Question: how does a building begin? Answer: a building begins with a thorough study of the client's needs. There are client conferences and research. Then hundreds of decisions to make. The building must be totally functional, yet aesthetically pleasing. The basic services of an architect are divided into 5 consecutive stages. In brief, they are: 1. Schematics, where, after careful consideration of all factors, the architect presents rough sketches for client approval. These schemes are possible solutions to the building problem. 2. Design development, exactly as it describes. The architect develops the design with more detail. 3. Construction documents. The architect prepares the detailed working drawings from which construction will be made. With these prints goes a booklet of specifications as to the type and quality of materials that are to be used. 4. Bidding. Here the architect handles the business of selecting a contractor. 5. Contract administration. The architect sees that the contract is administered as written with supervision of the project, progress reports, and final inspection of the building. The architect is not the maker of blueprints. According to Webster, a blueprint is a photographic print, white on a bright blue background, a copy. An architect creates space for people through the technical and creative process of programming, research, and design with schematics, design development, construction documents, bidding, and contract administration. Witness the tremendous volume of new construction which is going on. Witness the population explosion. We must continue to build with effectiveness and skill in order for our future living to be made more rational and rewarding. This is our invitation to the profession of architecture. There has never been a greater need. By the end of this century, less than 40 years from now, we will have to duplicate every single structure in this country to house our expanding population and replace outmoded, worn-out buildings and neighborhoods. In effect, we will have to build a second America. You can have a part in this. The architect stands at the center of this great development of our society. By his art, He lays out the paths which will determine how we spend our lives. This is the age of the architect. Architecture is an art for all men to learn because all are concerned with it. You, as an architect, will be the creator of the second America. This is the challenge to the artist and technician, to serve humanity, to build for people a new environment for better living. AIA is the American Institute of Architects. This century-old professional organization is responsible for coordinating the standards of practice and the training and licensing of architects. Because of its efforts and influence, the profession of architecture is held in high esteem today. In North Carolina, the chapter of the American Institute of Architects has offices in the AIA Tower in Raleigh. They are interested in your career as an architect and have prepared this program for your information and consideration.